barefoot girl ran into the flames, 14 years old, starving, homeless. Her skin was already blistering when she smashed through that car window with her bare fists. Inside, an 8-year-old boy is screaming for his daddy, while 50 grown adults stood there filming on their phones. Nobody moved. Nobody helped. Just a throwaway kid that the world had forgotten, running toward death to save a stranger's child. She pulled him out 3 seconds before the explosion. Then she vanished, gone like a ghost. That little boy's father was the president of the Hells Angels. And when he watched that video, he didn't cry. He mobilized an army. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Your city, your country. I want to see how far this story reaches. And stay until the end, because what happened next will break your heart and put it back together. Harper Kane was 14, homeless for 11 months. Her mother overdosed in a motel bathroom on the south side of Austin. No father, no family, no one who gave a damn whether she lived or died. 7 foster homes, every single one threw her back like trash. The last foster father beat her with a belt for eating cereal without permission. Harper reported it to her social worker. The woman looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Why do you always cause problems?" That was the day Harper stopped believing in help. That was the day she learned the only person who would save Harper Kane was Harper Kane. Austin, Texas. August. 100-degree heat that could fry an egg on concrete. The kind of heat that made the air shimmer and dance. The kind that killed people sleeping rough if they weren't careful. Harper knew which dumpsters had food on which days. Which restaurant workers looked the other way when she scrounged through the trash bins behind their kitchens. Which cops would just shove her along. Which ones would beat her first and ask questions never. She owned 4 things in this world. A torn backpack with a broken zipper. A watch that hadn't told the right time in 3 years. A faded photograph of her mother from before the drugs took everything. And one sentence her mother repeated every day before she couldn't speak anymore. Help people, Harper. Even when nobody helps you, especially then. That's what makes us human. Harper kept that sentence like a prayer. Like a rope she could hold on to when the world got too dark. The only thing she had left of the woman who gave birth to her in a county hospital and tried her best until the pain got too big and the pills were the only thing that made it stop. Thursday afternoon. Behind the Chevron station on East Riverside Drive, Harper was elbow deep in a dumpster looking for anything that wasn't rotten. Her stomach had been empty for 2 days. Her vision kept graying at the edges. That floaty feeling when your body starts eating itself to stay alive. She found half a sandwich, turkey and cheese. The bread was only a little moldy. She picked off the green parts and wrapped it in a napkin, saved it for later. You never ate everything at once, not when you didn't know where the next meal was coming from. Then she heard it, metal screaming, glass exploding, an impact so hard her chest vibrated from 30 feet away. And underneath all of it, cutting through the August heat and traffic noise, and general chaos of the world, a child screaming. Harper ran. Black SUV flipped on its side in the middle of the intersection. A pickup truck with its front end crumpled like aluminum foil. The driver stumbling out, blood streaming from his forehead, already pulling out his phone to call 911. Gasoline was pooling under the SUV. Harper could smell it. Sharp and chemical and wrong. A spark. Blue flame racing across the asphalt like something alive. Like something hungry. And inside that crumpled metal coffin, a little boy was screaming words that would haunt Harper for the rest of her life. "Daddy, Daddy, help me, please." Harper stopped, looked around, 50 people, maybe more, business suits on lunch breaks, yoga pants and designer sunglasses, delivery drivers in their uniforms. Every single one of them was holding a phone up, recording, filming, documenting the disaster for social media. Nobody was moving. "Somebody help him!" Harper screamed. Her voice cracked, raw, desperate, nothing. The phones kept rolling, the flames climbed higher. The boy's screams got worse. Harper didn't decide. Her legs just moved. Some deep animal part of her brain that hadn't been beaten down by 7 foster homes and 11 months on the streets. The part that still remembered her mother's voice. Help people, even when nobody helps you. "Kids, stop, don't go in there." Someone grabbed at Harper's arm. She didn't hear them. She was already running, already committed. The heat hit her like a fist, made her eyes water instantly. She couldn't breathe. The air was too hot. It burned going down her throat. But she could see him now. Blonde hair matted with blood, trapped in a car seat. The door crushed against his legs. His face was red from crying, from screaming, from terror that no 8-year-old should ever have to feel. "I'm coming," Harper yelled. "I'm going to get you out. I'm scared. I want my daddy." "What's your name?" "Finn. My name is Finn." "Okay, Finn, I'm Harper. I'm going to break this window. It's going to be loud. Don't be scared. Please don't leave me." "I won't, I promise." Harper wrapped her shirt around her fist. 30 seconds, maybe less. She could feel her shoes melting. The rubber sticking to the pavement. First punch, nothing. The window was reinforced. Safety glass. Second punch, a crack appeared. Spider webbing outward. Third punch, the glass exploded. Shards sliced her arm, her hand, her cheek. She didn't feel it. Couldn't feel anything except the desperate need to get this boy out before the flames reached the gas tank. She reached through, fingers fumbling with the car seat buckle. Smoke was filling her lungs, thick and black and choking. Finn was coughing, crying, grabbing at her with small hands. "It's stuck, I can't get it." "Don't leave me, please don't leave." "I'm not leaving." The buckle released. Harper grabbed Finn under his arms and pulled. He screamed as his legs scraped against the broken window. She didn't stop. Couldn't stop. 15 feet from the car, 10, 5. The gas tank exploded. The blast threw them forward like a giant hand. Harper twisted in midair. Instinct. Protection. She pulled Finn against her chest, took the impact on her back, on her shoulders, on the parts of her that had already been beaten and broken by the world. They hit the ground hard. Harper's vision went white, pain everywhere. But Finn was on top of her, crying, shaking, alive. "You okay?" Harper gasped. "You hurt. My leg hurts, in my head." "That's okay, help's coming. You're going to be fine." Sirens, finally, cutting through the ringing in Harper's ears. People actually putting down their phones now. Some of them running toward the two figures on the ground. Too late. Always too late. Finn looked down at Harper with huge blue eyes, the color of the sky before a storm. "You saved me." "Somebody had to." "What's your name again?" "Harper." "Like the bird." "Yeah, like the bird." "My grandma liked birds. She died last year. She was nice. You're nice too." Harper almost laughed. Almost. Her hands were burned raw. She could feel the blisters forming, rising, weeping. Her back felt like someone had poured gasoline on it and struck a match. And this little boy was worried about whether she smelled like smoke. "You probably don't smell too good either right now, kid." "That's okay. Mommy says angels don't have to smell good." Something cracked inside Harper's chest. Not pain, something else. Something she'd forgotten existed. Something that felt almost like hope. Then she saw the cop cars, 3 of them, pulling up fast, doors opening. Harper remembered who she was, what she was. A homeless kid with a record for theft and trespassing. A problem child. A girl who always caused trouble. Last time cops picked her up, they held her 16 hours in a cell that smelled like piss and vomit. Then dumped her at a group home where an older kid broke her ribs for looking at him wrong. Time before that, a cop had slammed her face into the hood of his patrol car, told her to stop resisting when she hadn't moved, when she'd been trying to explain she was just sleeping in a doorway, not hurting anyone, just trying to survive. Harper looked at Finn, at this little boy she'd pulled from fire, this stranger's child who looked at her like she'd hung the moon. "Help is here, buddy. They're gonna take care of you. You'll stay right? I can't. But you're my angel. Angels don't leave." A paramedic was running toward them now. A woman in a blue uniform with kind eyes and gentle hands. Cops getting out of their cars. Someone pointing at Harper, saying something into a radio. "I'll never forget you, Finn, but you're going to be okay now." Harper transferred the boy to the paramedic's arms. The woman's eyes went wide when she saw Harper's burns, the raw meat where skin used to be. "Son of honey, you need medical attention. You need to stay right here." Harper ran. Behind her, Finn was screaming her name. "Harper! Harper, come back, Harper!" She didn't look back. Looking back meant stopping. Stopping meant getting caught. Getting caught meant disappearing into the system that had already chewed her up and spit her out 7 times. Nobody saved girls like Harper Kane. She'd learned that lesson too many times to forget it now. 30 minutes later, someone posted a video on Facebook. 60 minutes later, 10,000 views. 90 minutes later, the video reached a phone in a clubhouse on the south side of Austin. The man who watched it stopped breathing. Wyatt Drake didn't believe in God. Couldn't. Not after everything he'd seen in 54 years of hard living. 22 years in the Hells Angels. 15 as president of the Austin chapter. He'd buried friends, buried enemies, held his brother Danny while he bled out in a gas station parking lot after a rival club decided to make a statement. Wyatt was 54 years old, 6'3", 240 pounds, hands that had broken jaws and rebuilt engines in equal measure. A face that had stopped scaring people years ago because truly dangerous men don't need to look scary. They just are. He loved 3 things in this world: his Harley, his wife Maeve, and his son Finn. Everything else was negotiable. His VP walked into the garage with a look Wyatt had only seen twice before. Both times someone had died. "Wyatt, it's Finn." The wrench hit the concrete floor before the sentence was finished. Wyatt snatched the phone from his VP's hand. His fingers were shaking. Wyatt Drake's hands didn't shake. They hadn't shaken when he held Danny. They hadn't shaken when federal agents put him in cuffs. They were shaking now. The video played, his son's SUV flipping through an intersection, flames erupting like something from a war zone. His baby boy, his whole world, screaming for help, screaming for daddy. And then, a girl, skinny, ragged, barefoot, running into the fire while 50 adults stood there with their phones out, recording history instead of making it, breaking the window with her bare hands, reaching in, pulling Finn out, shielding his body when the car exploded, saving his life while the rest of humanity watched and did nothing. Wyatt's hands were still shaking when the video ended. He watched it again and again, trying to understand what he'd just seen. "Where is he?" His voice came out wrong, too rough, too raw. "St. David's Hospital. Maeve is with him, broken leg, concussion, some cuts. He's okay, Wyatt. He's okay because of that girl." Wyatt watched the video one more time. The girl was so small, so thin, ribs showing through her shirt, no shoes, clothes that hadn't been washed in weeks, and her eyes. Even in the grainy phone footage, he could see her eyes. Old eyes, haunted eyes. The eyes of men Wyatt had known in prison. Men who'd given up because the world gave up on them first. Then she ran away, disappeared into the city like smoke. Who is she? Nobody knows. She told Finn her name was Harper. That's all we do. Cops are looking. Nothing. No last name, no address. It's like she doesn't exist. Wyatt paused the video, zoomed in on the girl's face. Those eyes that had seen too much. That body that showed every rib. That instinct to run from help because help had never helped her before. She's a street kid. What? Look at her, no shoes, clothes filthy, bones showing. That's a homeless kid. And she ran from the cops because she thought they'd hurt her worse than the burns already did. His VP looked closer at the frozen image. Damn, you're right. A homeless kid ran in a fire to save my son, then ran away from help because she thought help would destroy her. Wyatt's jaw locked, a muscle jumping in his cheek. That old rage building, not at the girl, at the system that broke her so bad she'd rather bleed in an alley than let a paramedic touch her. What do you want to do? Wyatt was already walking toward his bike, already pulling on his leather, already making calls in his head. Find her. Get everyone, every member. Call Houston. Call San Antonio. Call Dallas. I want every Hell's Angel in Texas looking for this girl. Wyatt, that's 200 people across all the chapters. Good. 40 of us start tonight with the street search, shelters, soup kitchens, under every bridge, behind every dumpster. I don't care if it takes a month. I don't care if it takes a year. He stopped, turned back. His VP had never seen that look in his president's eyes. Not once in 15 years. When we find her, we do what nobody else did. We take care of her. We give her something to belong to. Wyatt's voice cracked, just for a second, just long enough for his VP to understand this wasn't about gratitude or obligation or paying back a debt. That girl saved my son. I'm not letting her spend another night alone. Not one more night wondering if anyone gives a damn whether she lives or dies. 42 Hells Angels rolled out at sunset. The sound of their engines was like thunder, like something biblical. 200 members total across Texas, but tonight 42 riders took to the streets. Men and women who'd seen the worst of humanity and chosen to build their own family when blood failed them. Word spread fast in the homeless community. Men in leather looking for a kid named Harper. At first, people were scared. Hells Angels had a reputation, most of it earned. But these bikers weren't threatening anyone. They were asking politely, offering money for information, showing the video on their phones, explaining they just wanted to thank the girl who saved a little boy. Woman at the Salvation Army shelter wiping her eyes. Harper was here 3 days ago. Sweet girl. Doesn't trust shelters, though. Too many bad experiences. She said someone hurt her at the last one. Wouldn't tell me what happened. Old man under the I-35 overpass nodding slowly. She sleeps near the recycling center sometimes. Real quiet kid. Keeps to herself mostly. But I seen her share her food with the younger ones, even when she didn't have enough for herself. That's rare out here. Most folks, they can't afford to be generous. But that girl, she gave away her last piece of bread once to a kid who was crying. Still remember that. Convenience store clerk on Riverside, voice shaking. She tried to buy water 2 days ago. Didn't have enough change. Just a few cents short. And God help me, I chased her out. Told her to stop bothering my customers. The clerk watched the video on the biker's phone. Watched Harper run into flames. Save a child. Nearly die doing it. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her water's free here forever. Tell her I'm so damn sorry. They marked each location on a map, building a picture of Harper Kane's invisible life. The girl who moved through Austin like a ghost, who survived on scraps and slept in places no child should ever have to sleep, who helped others even when she had nothing to give. But Harper was nowhere, because Harper was dying in the one place nobody thought to look, the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church had an unlocked side door. Harper found it 6 months ago when she was running from a group of teenagers who thought it would be funny to set a homeless girl's backpack on fire. The basement was cold, dark, musty, but it was shelter, and shelter was everything when you lived on the streets. She'd slept here a dozen times, always left before dawn, and always careful not to leave any trace. Father Matthews was old and kind, but he'd still call the authorities if he found a homeless kid living in his basement. They all did eventually, no matter how nice they seemed. Tonight, Harper couldn't leave, even if she wanted to. Her burns were infected. She could see it now. Hands blistered and weeping yellow pus. Right forearm missing a patch of skin the size of her palm. Her back felt like someone was pressing hot coals into her flesh. Every breath was agony. She was shaking, fever burning through her. Body trying to fight an infection it didn't have the resources to beat. No food for 2 days before the fire. No water for 1 day after. Running on empty. Running on fumes. Running on nothing at all. Harper held her mother's photograph. The picture was creased and faded, worn soft from a year of being carried in a pocket, in a backpack, against a heart that missed her so much it physically hurt. I did what you said, Mama. Her voice was barely a whisper. Talking hurt. Everything hurt. I helped someone, even when nobody helped me. She waited for a sign, some feeling that her mother heard her, that somewhere out there in whatever came after the woman who gave birth to her was proud, was watching, was waiting. Nothing. Just cold concrete. Just darkness pressing in. Just the sound of her own ragged breathing. Maybe this was how it ended, in a church basement, alone. Forgotten. She'd saved a little boy's life, and she was still going to die like this. Like she didn't matter. Like she never mattered at all. I'm sorry, Mama. I tried. I really tried to be good, like you said. Darkness took her. Nell Morrison was 68 years old. Bad knees, worse back, arthritis in every joint that made mornings an exercise in pain management. She'd been riding with the Hells Angels for 41 years, longer than some members had been alive. They called her Ghost because she'd survived things that should have killed her, because she moved quiet for a woman her size, because sometimes she seemed to appear out of nowhere when people needed her most. She'd buried more brothers and sisters than she could count, seen things that would break most people. But when her flashlight swept across that church basement and found a 14-year-old girl curled up on concrete burning with fever, clutching a photograph of her dead mother, Ghost felt something break inside her that she thought had died decades ago. Lord have mercy. She ran, her knees screamed at her. She ignored them, dropped down beside the girl, touched her forehead, burning hot. The girl flinched, even unconscious, even dying. She flinched from human touch, like she expected pain. Easy, child, easy now. Ghost pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking. Nell Morrison's hands didn't shake. Hadn't shaken since Vietnam, when she was a nurse in a field hospital. Hadn't shaken when she held dying boys who cried for their mothers. But they were shaking now. Wyatt, it's Ghost. I found her. Where St. Andrew's Episcopal, the basement. Wyatt, her voice cracked, failed her. She's bad. Burns are infected. Fever over 104. She's been down here alone for God knows how long. I think she was waiting to die. Silence on the other end. Not the empty kind. The kind where a man is fighting to keep his voice steady, to keep the emotion locked down where it belongs. I'm on my way. Wyatt, listen to me. Ghost looked at the girl, at the photograph still clutched in those burned fingers. A woman smiling, younger, healthy, before life destroyed her. When I found her, she was talking to this picture, talking to her mother, telling her she helped someone, telling her she kept her promise. More silence. Then a sound Ghost had never heard from Wyatt Drake in all the years she'd known him. A sob, quick, strangled, buried fast beneath the armor of a man who'd learned not to feel too much. Get her to St. David's. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Ghost hung up. She wrapped her leather jacket around the girl's shaking body. So light, Lord, so light for 14 years old, like picking up a bundle of sticks wrapped in skin. The girl's eyes fluttered open, fever bright, confused. She tried to fight. Easy, Harper. Easy now. Nobody's going to hurt you. Who? Barely a whisper. Who are you? Name's Nell. People call me Ghost. I'm here to help. Why are you helping me? Because you saved a little boy from a fire, and his daddy wants to say thank you. Harper's eyes went wide, pupils dilated, fear replacing confusion. No, I can't. I have to go. She tried to get up, couldn't, fell back against Ghost's arms. The older woman held her gently, like something precious, like something worth saving. Where you gonna go, child? You're burning up with fever. You can barely stand. Let us help you. Help, Harper laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Nobody helps kids like me. They just make everything worse. Not this time. That's what they always say. Ghost looked into those haunted eyes, saw the years of betrayal written there, the foster homes that failed her, the adults who hurt her, the system that chewed her up and decided she wasn't worth the trouble. I know you don't believe me. I know you got every reason not to trust anyone. But that little boy you saved, his name is Finn. And he's been asking about you nonstop, worried about his angel. I'm not an angel. Maybe not. But you did something most grown people wouldn't do. You ran toward the fire when everyone else ran away. Harper's eyes were closing, the fever pulling her back under, back into the darkness where nothing hurt because nothing mattered. Just rest now, sweetheart. You're safe. Safe, Harper whispered, like it was a word in a foreign language, like she didn't know what it meant anymore. Yeah, child, safe, maybe for the first time in a long time. Ghost carried her toward the door, toward the bike waiting outside, toward a hospital and people who gave a damn. And Harper Kane, who'd spent 11 months learning that trusting people only led to pain, let herself be carried, because she was too tired to fight anymore. Because maybe, just maybe this one time it would be different. Or maybe she'd just be disappointed again. But at least she'd saved that little boy. At least she'd kept her mother's promise. That had to count for something. Wyatt pulled into the hospital parking lot at 12:03 in the morning. Maeve was right behind him in her car. They ran through the emergency room doors together. A nurse tried to stop them. "Sir, you can't just—" "My son is in room 220. A girl just came in, 14 years old, burn victim. Where is she?" The nurse saw the leather vest, saw the patches. Fear flickered across her face. That old prejudice, that assumption that leather and tattoos meant danger. Wyatt leaned in, not threatening, just intense. Just a father who needed answers. "That girl saved my son's life. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to help her. Now please, where is she?" Something in his voice, something raw and honest and desperate. The nurse's expression softened. "Room 118. They're treating her burns now." Wyatt and Maeve ran down the hallway, past the curtains, through the door. And there she was. A girl skinny as a skeleton, burns covering her hands and arms and disappearing beneath the hospital gown. Face pale as death, hooked up to machines that beeped and whirred, an IV pumping fluids into her dehydrated body, fighting for a life she'd nearly thrown away to save a stranger. The doctor looked up, exhausted. It had been a long night. "Are you family?" "Yes," Maeve said it without hesitation, no doubt in her voice, just certainty. The doctor didn't argue. Sometimes you knew when to bend the rules. "She's severely malnourished, dehydrated, second and third degree burns on her hands, arms, and back. The infections have spread. Sepsis was starting to set in." The doctor paused, let that sink in. If she'd been out there another 12 hours, she wouldn't have made it. This girl was dying. And from what I can tell, she was dying alone. Wyatt walked to the bed, looked down at Harper Kane, at this girl who'd run into fire for his son. This girl who'd almost died in a church basement rather than ask for help because asking for help had only ever brought pain. Harper's eyes opened, fever bright, terrified. She tried to sit up, tried to run even now, even here. Wyatt gently pressed her back down. His hands were huge compared to hers, scarred and rough from years of mechanical work and harder living. But gentle now, careful. "See, sweetheart, easy, you're safe here." Where am I?" "Hospital. You're hurt real bad, but they're fixing you up." "Who are you?" Wyatt pulled up a chair, sat down, eye level with her, so she could see his face, see that he meant what he was about to say. "My name's Wyatt Drake. You saved my son yesterday, pulled him out of a burning car while 50 people stood there doing nothing." Harper blinked, recognition slowly dawning through the fever and fear. "Finn, Sheo. Yeah, Finn. Is he okay?" "He's okay, broken leg, concussion, some cuts, but he's alive. Because of you. I couldn't let him burn. He was screaming for his daddy." Wyatt's throat tightened. This girl, this throwaway kid that the world had decided wasn't worth saving. She'd heard his son screaming, and she'd run into fire without a second thought. "I know. I watched the video. Must have watched it 50 times trying to understand how someone so young could be so brave." Harper looked away, like she couldn't accept the compliment, like bravery was just another thing she didn't deserve. "Why did you run away, Harper?" The question hung in the air. Maeve had moved to the other side of the bed now, silent, listening, understanding something fundamental about this girl that most people would miss. Harper's jaw clenched, those old walls going back up, that defensive posture of someone who'd learned the hard way that vulnerability only led to pain. "Because nobody helps kids like me. They just make everything worse." "What do you mean, kids like you?" "Homeless, foster kid, throwaway." She spat the words. Like they tasted bad, like they were weapons she could use to push people away before they pushed her first. Every time someone says they're going to help, it's a lie. Social workers, foster families, police, they all say they care. Then they beat you, or they give up on you, or they send you somewhere worse. Her voice cracked. Just a little, just enough to show the scared child underneath all that armor. "I've been in 7 homes, 7 different families. Nobody wanted me, so I stopped wanting them. Stopped believing anyone ever would. Wyatt didn't speak, just listened. Because sometimes that's all someone needed. Someone to actually listen instead of judging or dismissing or explaining away their pain. I saved your son because my mama told me to help people, even when nobody helps me, even when it hurts, even when it costs me everything. But I don't want anything from you. I don't need your thanks. I just want to be left alone. Left alone where Harper on the streets in another church basement, that's not living. That's just surviving until you don't. It's better than the system. What if I told you there's another option? Harper laughed, bitter, broken, a sound no 14-year-old should be able to make. There's no other option for kids like me, mister. I learned that a long time ago. You don't know that? Yeah, I do. I've been wrong about adults my whole life. I'm not wrong anymore. The door burst open, a little boy on crutches, leg in a cast covered with signatures, face bandaged, moving faster than he should have been able to, with a broken leg and a concussion. Pure determination overriding pain in medical advice. Harper Finn threw himself at the bed. Maeve caught him just in time. Barely. The kid was stronger than he looked. Careful, baby. She's hurt. But that's my angel. That's Harper. Harper stared at him. At this little boy she'd pulled from fire. This stranger's child who looked at her like she'd hung the moon and the stars and everything in between. Hey, Finn, you came back. Mommy, she came back. I knew she would. Harper's a she, sweetie. She came back. Maeve's eyes met Wyatt's. A whole conversation in that glance. This girl, this broken, beautiful, brave girl who'd saved their son, who'd run into fire without hesitation, who'd almost died alone because she'd learned that people only hurt you. They couldn't let her go back to that. Wouldn't. I didn't come back, Finn. They found me. Because angels can't hide forever. Daddy told me that. Harper looked at Wyatt, some question in her eyes, some need to understand why this was happening. Why these people cared when nobody had cared before. You told him I'm an angel. He decided that himself. I just didn't disagree. Finn grabbed Harper's unbandaged hand, held it like it was precious, like she was precious. Are you going to stay with us now? Finn, please, I don't have a sister, and you don't have a family, so we could be each other's. The room went silent. Every adult in that space felt the weight of what this little boy was offering, what he was asking for. Family. The thing Harper had been searching for her whole life. The thing she'd stopped believing existed. It's not that simple, kid. Why not? Because I'm nobody, and you have a family, a real one. Finn tilted his head, dead serious, the way only an 8-year-old could be. You saved my life. That makes you family. That's what Daddy says. Family is the people who show up when it matters. Harper didn't have an answer for that. Neither did anyone else in the room. Maeve stepped forward, sat on the edge of the bed, took Harper's other hand, careful of the bandages, careful of the wounds that went so much deeper than burned skin. Harper, listen to me. What you did for our son there are no words. You risked your life for a child you didn't know, while 50 people stood there and did nothing. Anyone would have. No, they wouldn't. 50 people didn't. You were the only one who moved, the only one who cared enough to act. Maeve's voice was gentle but firm, the voice of a mother who'd been waiting 14 years to say these words to someone who needed to hear them. We're not letting you go back to the streets. Harper's head snapped up, eyes wide, searching for the catch, the angle, the lie that was surely coming. What? We want to help you, Harper, really help. Not fake help, not system help, real help. Why? The word came out broken, confused. Why would you do that? Wyatt leaned forward, elbows on his knees, face serious. Because you saved my son. Because no kid should live the way you've been living. And because maybe, just maybe, it's time someone showed up for you the way you showed up for Finn. Harper stared at him, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the moment when they'd realize she was too much trouble, too broken, too damaged to be worth saving. What do you want from me? Nothing. Everybody wants something. Not us. I don't believe you. Fair enough. We'll just have to prove it. Harper's eyes filled with tears. She fought them, tried to blink them back, failed, because sometimes your body betrays you. Sometimes the emotions are too big to contain. You don't even know me. I know enough. I'm not a good kid. I've stolen food. I've lied. I've done things. Harper. Wyatt's voice was firm but not harsh. I spent 15 years in prison. Half the people in my club have records. We're not looking for perfect. We're looking for real. And kid, you're about as real as they come. Finn tugged on Harper's hand, drew her attention back to him. Please stay, Harper. Please. Harper looked at him, at Maeve, at Wyatt. Her whole life had been a series of betrayals. Adults who promised to help and then hurt her worse. Systems that were supposed to protect her but only ground her down. She'd learned that hope was dangerous, that trusting people only led to pain. But all she saw in this room was something she'd stopped believing in years ago. Something that looked almost like love. I don't know how to be part of a family. Maeve smiled, warm in bone and understanding. Neither did Wyatt when I met him. We'll figure it out together. The words hung in the air. We'll figure it out together. Not, I'll fix you. Not, you need to change. Just together, like Harper had something to offer. Like she was worth the effort. Before Harper could respond, footsteps in the hallway. A woman in her 50s. Gray suit. Clipboard. Eyes that had seen too many cases and stopped caring about any of them. Her name tag read Claire Sutton, Department of Family and Protective Services. Behind her, 2 police officers. Harper's entire body tensed. Wyatt saw it. Saw the fear replace everything else. Saw this girl who'd run into fire freeze up at the sight of a social worker. Harper Kane. Not a question, a statement, an accusation. The voice of bureaucracy. Of a system that had failed her 7 times and was about to fail her again. You need to come with us. Wyatt stood up, put himself between the social worker and the bed. Not threatening, just present, just immovable. She's not going anywhere. She's injured. Mr. Drake, I'm aware of who you are. I'm aware of your criminal record. This girl is a ward of the state. She will be placed in appropriate care. Appropriate care, Maeve's voice was sharp, cutting. The appropriate care you gave her put her on the streets for 11 months. Put her in homes where she was beaten. Where she was told she was worthless. That's not care. That's abandonment. Claire Sutton didn't blink, didn't react, just consulted her clipboard like it held all the answers. That's not your concern, Mrs. Drake. The hell it isn't. This girl saved my son's life. That doesn't give you custody rights. Harper watched this exchange in silence. Part of her wanted to run. That was always the first instinct. The survival mechanism that had kept her alive for 11 months. But her body was too broken, too burned, too exhausted. And something else held her in place. These strangers were fighting for her. Actually fighting. Nobody had ever fought for Harper Kane before. Mrs. Sutton, Wyatt's voice was low, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with physical violence and everything to do with a man who'd decided something and wouldn't be moved. I understand you have a job to do, but this girl almost died because your system failed her 7 times. Don't make it 8. I understand you're grateful, but gratitude doesn't supersede the law. This girl needs professional evaluation and proper placement. Then evaluate her here. Place her with us. A known Hell's Angels associate cannot. I'm not an associate. Maeve stepped forward, chin up, eyes blazing. I'm a housewife with a clean record. Run my background. Run anything you want. I'll pass every check you throw at me. Claire hesitated. The officers behind her shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't going how these things usually went. Wyatt pressed the advantage. What's the alternative? You take her tonight. Throw her in some emergency shelter. Tomorrow you put her in another foster home. How long before that one kicks her out? A month, 2 weeks. Mr. Drake, how long before she runs again? Before she ends up dead in another basement somewhere and nobody even notices? That's not. She almost died last night, alone, in a church, with nobody in the world looking for her except us. Wyatt's voice dropped lower, more intense. The voice of a man who'd lived hard and loved harder and refused to let another person fall through the cracks. So don't stand there and tell me your system works when the proof it doesn't is lying in that bed. Claire Sutton looked at Harper, really looked at her for maybe the first time, saw the burns, the malnutrition, the haunted eyes of a child who'd been failed by everyone who was supposed to protect her. Something flickered behind her professional mask, maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion, maybe just the weight of it that had ground her down to nothing over 23 years. Harper, her voice softened, just slightly, just enough to sound almost human. What do you want? Everyone looked at the girl in the bed, the child who'd never had choices, who'd learned her opinion didn't matter because nobody ever asked for it. Now they were asking. Now her voice mattered. I want... Her voice cracked, failed, started again. I don't know what I want. Nobody ever asked me before. I'm asking now. Harper looked at Finn, still holding her hand, looked at Maeve, tears in her eyes. Looked at Wyatt, standing like a wall between her and the system that had destroyed her. I want to stop running. I want to wake up in the same place 2 days in a row. I want to eat breakfast at a table instead of out of a dumpster. Her voice broke completely now. All the walls coming down, all the armor cracking. I want someone to notice if I don't come home. Claire Sutton was quiet for a long moment, just standing there with her clipboard, with her bureaucratic armor, with the weight of a system that had failed Harper Kane 7 times already. I can't authorize placement with the Drakes, not tonight, not without a full background check, home evaluation, and court approval. Wyatt started to speak. Claire held up her hand. But I can delay taking Harper into custody for 48 hours due to her medical condition. That gives you time to file emergency foster paperwork and request a hearing. Maeve grabbed Wyatt's arm. We'll take it. We'll take whatever you give us. Claire turned to Harper. Her expression shifted, something almost human breaking through the professional distance. I'm going to be honest with you. The chances of this working are slim. Mr. Drake's record is going to be a major obstacle. The court doesn't like placing children with families connected to motorcycle clubs. I don't care about the court, Harper said. Her voice was stronger now, clearer. I care about whether they actually give a damn about me. Claire nodded slowly, like Harper had just said something profound, something true. Fair enough. She handed her card to Maeve. File the paperwork first thing tomorrow morning. The hearing will be within the week, and Harper looked at her. Don't run again. If you run, this is over. Understand? I understand. Claire left. The officers followed, the door closed, and Harper Kane allowed herself for the first time in 11 months to feel something other than fear. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. The hospital released Harper the next afternoon. 2nd-degree burns on her hands and arms bandaged and treated. 3rd-degree patch on her back that would scar permanently. Malnutrition that would take weeks to address. Psychological trauma that might never fully heal. But she was alive. And for the first time in almost a year, she wasn't alone. The Drakes lived in a 2-story house on the south side of Austin. Nothing fancy. Chain-link fence around the yard. Garage converted into a workshop. 3 Harleys parked in the driveway like mechanical horses. Like freedom waiting to be ridden. Harper stood on the front porch, afraid to go inside. This was someone's home. Their space, their life. She was just passing through, always just passing through. It's just a house, Finn said. He was on crutches, leg cast covered in signatures from kids at school. Everyone wanting to sign the cast of the boy who survived a car crash. The boy whose angel saved him. Come on, I'll show you your room, Ishawa. My room. Daddy set it up this morning. It used to be his office, but he said you need it more than his dumb papers. Harper looked at Wyatt, at this man with a criminal record and leather vest and hands that had probably done terrible things. This man who was giving up his office for a homeless girl he'd known for less than 24 hours. You didn't have to do that. Kid, we got a lot of work ahead of us. Lawyers, courts, social workers crawling through our lives with magnifying glasses. The least I can do is give you a place to sleep that isn't a church basement. Harper walked inside. The house smelled like coffee and something baking. Real food, home-cooked food, the kind that filled the spaces inside you that had been empty for too long. Maeve was in the kitchen, pulling blueberry muffins out of the oven. She looked up when Harper entered. smiled, not the fake social worker smile, not the pitying foster parent smile, just a real smile that reached her eyes. Blueberry, Finn told me they're your favorite. Harper stopped. How did Finn know that? I asked when you were sleeping in the hospital. You talk in your sleep. What else did I say? Finn thought about it. Serious. You said mama a lot, and you said I'm sorry like 100 times. Harper's throat closed up. All the private pain she'd been carrying, all the conversations with a dead woman who couldn't answer back. This little boy had heard all of it. Maeve's face softened, understanding something fundamental about grief and guilt and the way they twisted together until you couldn't tell them apart. Your room is upstairs, second door on the right. Why don't you go get settled? Lunch will be ready in an hour. Harper climbed the stairs alone, found the door, pushed it open, and stopped breathing. It was small, just a bed, a desk, a lamp, a window that looked out over the backyard. But the bed had clean sheets, white and crisp and smelling like detergent. The desk had paper and pencils. New ones, not the stubby broken ones you found in dumpsters. And on the nightstand, someone had placed a framed photograph. Her mother. The same picture Harper had been carrying for 11 months. But this was a copy, printed fresh, in a frame that said family along the bottom in silver letters. Harper sat on the bed, picked up the frame, stared at her mother's face, at the woman who tried her best and failed, who'd loved her daughter but loved the drugs more, who died alone in a motel bathroom while Harper was in her 6th foster home wondering why her mother never called. For the first time since the night her mother died, Harper King cried. Not quiet tears, not the kind you hide so nobody sees your weakness. Deep body-shaking sobs that came from somewhere she'd buried so deep she'd forgotten it existed. Grief she'd never let herself feel, fear she'd never admitted. Pain that had been building since the moment she realized she was completely alone in the world. She cried until her chest hurt, until her eyes were swollen, until she couldn't breathe through her nose anymore, until there was nothing left inside her except emptiness and exhaustion. When she finally stopped, Maeve was sitting beside her on the bed. Harper hadn't heard her come in, didn't know how long she'd been there. But Maeve didn't say anything, just put her arm around Harper's shoulders, held her the way her mother used to hold her before the pills made her too sick to care. I'm sorry. Harper's voice was wrecked, raw. I don't know why I'm crying. Don't apologize. Don't ever apologize for feeling things. I haven't cried since she died, not once. I couldn't. You were surviving. That's what survival looks like. You lock everything away so you can keep moving. Maeve's voice was gentle, patient, the voice of someone who understood that healing wasn't linear, that sometimes you had to break completely before you could rebuild. But you don't have to survive anymore, Harper. Now you can start living. Harper looked at her, at this woman she'd known for less than a day, this stranger who was holding her like she mattered. What if the court says no, then we appeal? What if the appeal says no, then we fight harder? What if you lose? Maeve cupped Harper's face in her hands, made her look into her eyes, made sure Harper heard every word. Harper, listen to me. Wyatt and I didn't have more children after Finn. We tried for years, tests, treatments, everything, but it didn't work out. She paused, tears rolling down her own cheeks now. For years, I felt like something was missing, like our family wasn't complete, like there was a space at our table that was supposed to be filled but never was. Maeve's voice broke, just slightly, just enough to show this wasn't rehearsed. This was truth. When I saw that video of you pulling my baby out of that car, when I watched you run away because you were so afraid of help, I knew you were the daughter I'd been waiting for. Harper couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. I don't believe in accidents. I believe you ran into that fire for a reason, and I believe you ended up here for a reason. What reason? Because you're supposed to be our daughter. Harper broke down again, and this time Maeve held her through all of it, through every sob, every tremor, every moment of finally letting someone else carry the weight she'd been holding alone for too long. 2 days later, the club came. Harper was sitting on the back porch when she heard the rumble. At first, she thought it was thunder, a storm rolling in across the Texas plains. Then it got louder, closer, more distinct. Engines, motorcycles, a lot of them. Wyatt came out of the garage, wiping his hands on a rag, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. They're here. Who's here, everyone? The motorcycles started rolling in, 2 at first, then 10, then 30. They filled the driveway, overflowed onto the street, kept coming. Harper stopped counting at 70, men and women in leather, patches from chapters all over Texas. Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, even a few from out of state. Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico. They parked their bikes in formation, military precise, and gathered in the Drake's backyard. No ceremony, no speeches, just brothers and sisters showing up because one of their own had asked. A tall man with a gray beard walked up to Harper first. His vest said Dallas, VP Patch, second in command. Good to finally meet you, proper kid. I'm Rusty. Harper shook his hand. His grip was firm but not crushing. Respectful. You're the one who saved Finn. I just did what anyone would do. No. Rusty's voice was serious. You did what no one else did. That makes you special. That makes you family. A woman approached, shorter than Harper, built like a brick house, tattoos covering both arms, a warm smile that transformed her face from intimidating to inviting. I'm Carmen, Rusty's wife. I heard you like blueberry muffins, so I made about 60 of them. 60. Bikers eat a lot. Ghost was there too, Nell Morrison in full leather. Moving slower than the others, but with the authority of someone who'd earned respect through decades of showing up. She walked up to Harper, put a weathered hand on her shoulder. How you holding up, child? I don't know, this is a lot. Yeah, we're a lot, but you get used to it. Ghost's eyes were kind, ancient, the eyes of someone who'd seen everything and still chose to care. I've been riding with these knuckleheads for 41 years. They're loud and they smell bad and they drink too much, but there's not a single one of them who wouldn't take a bullet for you. They don't even know me. Doesn't matter, you saved Finn. That makes you family, and family is forever. Harper looked around at all these people. All these strangers who'd driven hundreds of miles just to stand in a backyard and eat muffins. It didn't make sense. Nothing in her life had prepared her for this. Wyatt clinked a bottle against the porch railing. The crowd quieted. Instantly, the kind of respect that came from years of leadership, from being the kind of man who earned loyalty instead of demanding it. Listen up. Most of you know why we're here. For those who don't, this is Harper, 14 years old, homeless since her mother died. Last week, she ran into a burning car and pulled my son out. Then she ran away because she thought asking for help would only make things worse. Murmurs through the crowd, understanding, recognition. Most of these people had lived hard lives, had been thrown away by society at some point. They knew what it felt like to be Harper Kane. We found her in a church basement, half dead from infected burns. The system that was supposed to protect her threw her away. Nobody was looking for her. Nobody cared. Wyatt's voice hardened, the rage underneath, the fury at a world that treated children like disposable commodities. We care, and now we've got to fight on our petitions. Social services wants to put her back in the same system that failed her. There's a court hearing in 5 days. They're going to use everything they can against us. My record, the club's reputation, everything. He looked at Harper, made sure she was listening, made sure she understood what he was about to say. But I'm not giving up. Maeve's not giving up, and I need to know, are you with us? The crowd erupted, 70 voices shouting as one, fists in the air, engines revving, a wall of sound that made the window shake. Hell yeah, we're with you, Wyatt. That kid's one of us, and let them try to take her. Harper felt something break open in her chest, not pain this time. Something else, something warm, something that felt like belonging. These people didn't want anything from her. They weren't going to hurt her. They weren't going to give up when things got hard. They just showed up, because showing up was what family did. A man stepped forward from the crowd, older, gray beard, patches indicating he was from the Dallas chapter, President patch on his vest. Wyatt, I'm going to say something and I don't want you to argue. Go ahead, Rusty. We've had our differences over the years. Dallas and Austin haven't always seen eye to eye on club business. Territory disputes, policy disagreements, the usual politics. Rusty pointed at Harper, his voice carried across the yard. But this is bigger than chapter politics. This girl is a hero. She ran into fire to save a child. And if any court in Texas tries to take her away from you, Dallas stands with Austin. Every rider, every resource, whatever you need. Another man stepped forward. Houston colors, President Patch. Houston, too. We'll be at that hearing. Every single one of us, if we have to. San Antonio, El Paso, Corpus Christi. One by one, chapter presidents stepped forward, pledging support, promising to stand together, turning a custody hearing into a show of force. Harper watched in disbelief. 70 people, 70 strangers, all willing to fight for a homeless girl they'd never met. Why? She whispered to Wyatt. Why would they do this for me? Wyatt looked at her, really looked at her, saw the confusion and disbelief and desperate hope all mixed together. Because that's what we are. That's who we've always been. The world sees leather and tattoos and thinks we're criminals, thinks we're dangerous. And yeah, some of us have done bad things, have records, have pasts we're not proud of. He gestured to the crowd behind him. But we're a family, and family doesn't leave one of its own behind. I'm not one of you. I'm just a kid. You ran in a fire for my son. You almost died for a stranger. That kind of courage, that kind of heart, that's not something you learn. That's who you are. Wyatt put his hand on Harper's shoulder, the gesture so casual, so natural, like he'd been doing it for years instead of days. Kid, you're more one of us than half the people wearing patches. Finn appeared at Harper's side. He'd been inside coloring. Drew something while the adults talked. Now he held up a piece of paper, crude the way only an 8-year-old's art could be. But Harper could see what it was. A family, a house, a woman, a little boy in a blue shirt, and next to the little boy a girl, tall and skinny with a cape like a superhero. Above the drawing in wobbly letters, my sister Harper the Angel. Harper stared at the picture. Her hands were shaking. The bandages made it hard to hold things, but she gripped the paper like it was precious, like it was the most valuable thing she'd ever been given. Do you like it? Finn asked, his voice uncertain, worried that maybe his art wasn't good enough. Harper couldn't answer. Her throat had closed up completely, all the emotion she'd been holding back rising up like a flood. It's okay if you don't like it. I'm not a very good drawer yet. Mommy says practice makes perfect, but Harper dropped to her knees, wrapped her arms around Finn, held him tight. This little boy who'd almost died. This child who looked at her and saw something worth saving. It's perfect, she whispered. Her voice was wrecked, broken. It's the best thing anyone's ever given me. Finn hugged her back, small arms around her neck, innocent and trusting and full of love that Harper didn't know how to accept but desperately wanted to learn. I told you angels don't leave. 5 days. That's all they had. 5 days to convince a court that a Hell's Angels family was the best place for a traumatized foster child. 5 days to gather character witnesses, complete home evaluations, prepare for every attack the opposition would throw. Rita Callahan worked 18-hour days. She was a lawyer who specialized in family law, had gotten more bikers out of custody battles than anyone in Texas, knew how to fight when the system was stacked against you. She filed motions, subpoenaed records, gathered evidence of every foster home that had failed Harper, every injury she'd sustained, every adult who'd looked the other way. The picture she built was devastating. This kid has been abused, neglected, and abandoned by the very system that was supposed to protect her, Rita told Wyatt and Maeve. They were sitting in the Drakes' living room. Papers spread across the coffee table like evidence of institutional failure. If I can get the judge to see that, really see it, we might have a chance. And if you can't, then they take her back, put her in another group home, and we start the fight all over again. Harper heard all of this. She wasn't supposed to. She was supposed to be resting in her room. But she'd learned long ago how to be invisible, how to listen without being seen, how to gather information so she could prepare for the worst. She was terrified, not of going back to the system. She'd survived that before, could survive it again if she had to. She was terrified of hoping because hope had always been the thing that hurt the most. The night before the hearing, Harper couldn't sleep. She sat on the back porch watching the stars, trying to prepare herself for whatever came next, trying to build her walls back up in case this family decided she wasn't worth the trouble after all. Maeve found her there at 2 a.m. Couldn't sleep either. Harper shook her head. Maeve sat down beside her. They stayed silent for a long time. Just two people watching the Texas sky and thinking about tomorrow. You know, Maeve finally said, when I found out I couldn't have more children, I thought my life was over, like I'd failed at the most basic thing a woman was supposed to do. Harper didn't respond, just listened. Doctors couldn't explain it, said everything looked fine. Sometimes bodies just don't cooperate. Sometimes the universe has other plans. Maeve's voice was quiet, thoughtful. I spent years angry at my body, at Gune, at every pregnant woman I saw. Then Finn came along and I thought, okay, this is enough. One perfect son. That's more than some people get. She looked at Harper, her eyes reflecting starlight. But there was always this empty chair at our dinner table. This space that was supposed to be filled but wasn't. I tried to ignore it, tried to be grateful for what I had instead of mourning what I'd lost. What changed? You running into that fire, saving my son. Running away because you were so convinced nobody would help you that you'd rather die alone than ask. Maeve's voice broke, just slightly. I watched that video and I knew. The daughter I'd been waiting for wasn't going to come from my body. She was out there already, scared and alone and convinced she wasn't worth saving. Harper couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. What if the court says no? What if they take me anyway? Then we fight, we appeal, we do whatever it takes. What if that's not enough? Maeve turned to face Harper fully, put her hands on either side of Harper's face, made her look into her eyes. Harper Kane, you listen to me very carefully. Whatever happens in that courtroom tomorrow, you are my daughter. Papers don't make that true. The state doesn't make that true. It's just true. How can you say that? You barely know me. I know you ran into fire for my son. I know you survived 11 months on the streets. I know you kept to your mother's promise, even when the world gave you every reason not to. That's all I need to know. Tears were streaming down Harper's face now. She didn't bother wiping them away. I'm scared, Mom. The word slipped out. Harper froze. She'd never called anyone Mom except her mother. Never let herself get close enough to anyone else to use that word. It felt sacred. Forbidden, wrong. But Maeve just smiled, pulled Harper into a hug, held her like she was precious, like she was wanted, like she was exactly where she belonged. I'm scared too, baby, but we're in this together. They sat there until sunrise, mother and daughter, not by blood, but by choice, by courage, by a little boy screaming in a burning car, and a homeless girl who decided someone had to act. The courthouse was massive, stone and glass and the weight of justice, or injustice depending on which side of the system you were standing on. Harper had been here before, twice, for different foster placements. Both times she'd walked out with strangers who eventually threw her away. This time was different. This time she had 70 bikers standing on the courthouse steps. This time she had people who fought. Judge Lenora Hayes was 63 years old. She'd been on the bench for 28 years, had presided over thousands of custody cases, had seen the best and worst of what families could be. She was known for being tough but fair, for cutting through the emotion to get to what actually mattered, which was always the same thing, what was best for the child. The courtroom filled up quickly. 20 bikers took the seats behind the drakes. The rest waited outside, a show of support, a reminder that Harper wasn't alone anymore. On the other side of the aisle, Claire Sutton sat with two witnesses, a child psychologist who'd never met Harper, a representative from the Foster Care Licensing Board who had opinions about appropriate placements and proper procedures. Rita Callahan was calm, professional. The kind of calm that came from having done this 1,000 times and knowing exactly what needed to be said. The bailiff stood. All rise. The Honorable Judge Lenora Hayes presiding. Judge Hayes entered, took her seat, shuffled papers, looked at both tables with eyes that had heard every story and believed maybe half of them. This is case number 2024 FC4891, regarding the emergency foster placement of Harper Kane, a minor. Ms. Callahan, you're representing the petitioners. Yes, Your Honor. Wyatt and Maeve Drake. Ms. Sutton, you're representing Child Protective Services. That's correct, Your Honor. All right, let's begin. Ms. Sutton, you may present your case. Claire Sutton stood. She'd done this job for 23 years, had placed hundreds of children, had seen most of them fail, had learned to protect herself by not caring too much, by treating each case like a file instead of a life. But something was different this time. Something about Harper Kane had gotten under her professional armor. Your Honor, Harper Kane is a 14-year-old ward of the state who has been missing from the foster care system for approximately 11 months. During this time, she lived on the streets, engaged in survival behaviors including theft and trespassing, had no adult supervision or support. Harper flinched at the word theft. It was true, she'd stolen food to survive. But hearing it said out loud in a courtroom made it sound like she was a criminal instead of a kid who didn't want to starve to death. While we acknowledge that Harper performed a courageous act in rescuing Finn Drake from a car accident, heroism does not negate the serious concerns about the proposed placement. What concerns? Judge Hayes asked. Her voice was neutral, giving nothing away. Wyatt Drake has an extensive criminal record, including 15 years served for assault with a deadly weapon and conspiracy charges. He is the current president of the Austin chapter of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, an organization that has been linked to numerous criminal investigations across the country. Wyatt's hands clenched under the table. Rita touched his arm, a warning to stay calm, to let her do the fighting. Additionally, Your Honor, the Drake household has no experience with foster care, no training, no preparation for the unique challenges of a traumatized adolescent. We believe Harper would be better served in a licensed therapeutic foster home with professionals equipped to handle her needs. Thank you, Ms. Sutton. Judge Hayes turned to Rita. Sid Callahan. Rita stood. She didn't rush, didn't show anxiety, just the calm confidence of someone who knew she was right. Your Honor, I'd like to start by asking a simple question. How many foster homes has Harper Kane been placed in since entering the system? Claire shifted. That's not 7, Your Honor, 7 homes in 4 years. Would you like to know why she left each one? Judge Hayes nodded. Go ahead. Rita picked up a folder, opened it, started reading from official state documents, from the very system that was now trying to take Harper back. Home number 1. Harper was removed, and after the foster mother's boyfriend was arrested for possession of methamphetamine. The boyfriend had been living in the house for 6 months. Nobody from CPS noticed. The courtroom was silent. Home number 2, closed due to overcrowding and health code violations. 18 children in a house meant for 6. Harper was sleeping on the floor. Rita looked at Claire, at the judge, making sure every word landed. Home number 3, Harper was hospitalized after another foster child attacked her with a kitchen knife. She required 14 stitches in her arm. The wound got infected. She still has the scar. Maeve was crying silently. Wyatt's knuckles were white. Home number 4, the foster parents surrendered Harper after 3 weeks. Their statement to CPS said she was, quote, too quiet and made them uncomfortable. She was 9 years old. Home number 5, Harper was removed after she reported physical abuse. The investigation was inconclusive due to lack of evidence. No other witnesses. The foster father denied everything. Harper was labeled a troublemaker. Rita's voice got harder, angrier, the professional calm cracking to show the fury underneath. Home number 6. Harper ran away after the foster father beat her with a belt for eating cereal without permission. She was so hungry she couldn't help herself. She reported this to her social worker. Rita looked directly at Claire Sutton. Would you like to know what happened, Your Honor? Tell me. The social worker asked Harper why she always caused problems. No investigation was opened. Harper was returned to the same home. She ran away again 2 weeks later. and she never went back to the system. Rita closed the folder. Let the silence stretch. 7 homes, Your Honor. 7 failures. 7 times the system that was supposed to protect this child either couldn't or wouldn't. And now that same system wants to take her from the first people who have ever actually fought for her. Objection. Claire stood. Counsel is being inflammatory. I'm being accurate. Every word I've said, it is documented in CPS's own files. Files that Ms. Sutton has access to, but apparently chose not to mention. Judge Hayes held up her hand. I'll allow it. Continue, Ms. Callahan. Your Honor, yes. Wyatt Drake has a criminal record. He served his time, 15 years. He's been out for over 20 years with no violations. No arrests, not even a traffic ticket. He runs a legitimate motorcycle repair business. He pays his taxes. He's been married to Maeve Drake for 23 years. Rita turned to face the judge directly. And 5 days ago, when a homeless girl saved his son's life and then disappeared into the streets because she was too traumatized to accept help, Wyatt Drake didn't call the police and file a report and forget about it. He mobilized 200 people across multiple chapters to search for that child. He found her dying in a church basement. He brought her to a hospital. He hired a lawyer. He opened his home. And he told that girl for the first time in her life that someone was going to fight for her. Rita's voice softened, became almost pleading. Ms. Sutton talks about suitable placements and professional support. But professionals have been failing Harper Kane for 4 years. The system has been failing her. The only people who haven't failed her are sitting at this table. The bikers behind them stirred. Someone whispered, "Damn right." Judge Hayes looked at the courtroom. At the leather vests, at the patches, at the faces of men and women who'd driven hundreds of miles to sit in a Texas courtroom for a kid most of them had never met. Ms. Sutton, call your first witness. The child psychologist testified about trauma and proper therapeutic environments. Never having met Harper, just basing everything on files and theories and abstract concepts that didn't account for the reality of a girl who'd survived what Harper had survived. Rita cross-examined him, made him admit he'd never met Harper, had never been to the Drake home, had never interviewed Maeve, who had a completely clean record and had raised one healthy, well-adjusted son already. The licensing board representative talked about requirements and procedures, about background checks and training programs, about appropriate placements and proper protocols. Rita countered with statistics. 47 licensed foster homes in Travis County, 212 children waiting for placement, a 4-to-1 shortage. Only 11 homes equipped for adolescents with trauma histories like Harper's. So what happens to kids who don't get placed in those 11 homes? They're placed in group facilities. Group homes where Harper was attacked and required 14 stitches, that's the professional care you're recommending. The representative had no good answer. Then Rita called Harper to the stand. Harper's heart stopped. She hadn't expected this. Maeve grabbed her hand, squeezed it. You can do this. Just tell the truth. Harper stood, legs shaking, walked to the witness stand, sat down. The bailiff approached. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Rita approached slowly, gave Harper a small, encouraging nod. Harper, I'm going to ask you some questions. Just answer honestly. Okay. Can you tell the court about the day of the accident, the day you saved Finn Drake? Harper swallowed hard, remembered the heat, the screaming, the choice that wasn't really a choice at all. I was behind a gas station looking for food. I heard the crash, saw the fire, saw a little boy trapped inside. And what did you do? I ran in, broke the window, pulled him out. Why? The question caught her off guard. What do you mean, why? There were 50 adults standing there. None of them moved. Why did you? Harper was quiet for a long moment, trying to find words for something that didn't need words, something that was just instinct, just the last good part of her that refused to die. Because I heard him screaming for his daddy, and I know what it's like to scream for someone who can't come. Her voice cracked. My mom used to tell me to help people, even when nobody helps you, especially then. She said that's what makes us human. So I did. Rita let the words hang. Let everyone in the courtroom sit with what Harper had just said. After you saved Finn, you ran away. Why? Because I was scared. Of what? Of everything. Social workers, police, the system. Harper looked at her hands, at the bandages covering the burns that were still healing. Every time someone said they were going to help me, it got worse. I got beat up in foster homes. I got ignored by social workers. I got treated like a problem to solve instead of a person. She looked up, met Judge Hayes' eyes. I wasn't running from the Drakes. I didn't even know who they were. I was running from everyone, because everyone had already let me down. Harper, Rita said gently, what happened when the Drakes found you? I was in a church basement, dying, I think. My burns were infected. I hadn't eaten in days. A woman named Ghost found me. She carried me out, took me to a hospital. And then Wyatt and Maeve came. They stayed with me. They said they were going to fight for me if I'm... Harper's voice broke completely now. Nobody ever said that before. Nobody ever fought for me. Do you want to live with the Drakes? Yes. I need a verbal answer for the record, Harper. Yes, I want to live with them. Tears were spilling down her cheeks. She didn't try to hide them. They're the first people who ever made me feel like I mattered. Like I wasn't just a case number or a problem. Like I was actually worth something. Rita turned to the judge. No further questions. Claire Sutton stood for cross-examination. She looked uncomfortable. Like she knew what she was about to do would hurt, but she had a job to do anyway. Harper, you mentioned that you've stolen food, is that correct? Yes. And you've trespassed, slept in places you weren't supposed to be. Yes. So you broke the law. Harper stared at her, at this woman who'd probably never missed a meal in her life, who'd probably never slept in a doorway wondering if she'd wake up. I was starving. I didn't have anywhere to go. What was I supposed to do? Claire hesitated, started to respond. Harper cut her off. I stole bread because I was hungry. I slept in a church because I was cold. If that makes me a criminal, then I guess I'm a criminal. Her voice rose. All the anger, all the injustice, all the years of being punished for trying to survive. But I never hurt anyone. I never took more than I needed. And when I saw a little boy burning alive, I didn't stand there with a phone like 50 other people. I ran in and saved him. She was crying now, but her voice was steady, strong. Where were the foster homes when I was starving? Where was the system when I was bleeding? Where was anyone? She stood up. She wasn't supposed to, but she did anyway. They weren't there. Nobody was there until the Drakes. Claire had no response. No clever counter. No system-approved answer that made any sense in the face of Harper's truth. No further questions, Your Honor. Harper returned to her seat. Maeve pulled her into a hug. Wyatt's hand found her shoulder. Finn reached across his mother and grabbed Harper's hand. Judge Hayes looked at Harper for a long time. Really looked at her. Saw the burns, the pain, the courage, the desperate hope that maybe this time would be different. This is one of the more unusual cases I've presided over. On one hand, we have a system that has clearly failed this child, repeatedly, egregiously, and without adequate accountability. She looked at Wyatt. On the other hand, we have petitioners with backgrounds that would typically disqualify them from consideration. Wyatt met her eyes, didn't look away, just waited. I've seen a lot of men with records like yours, Mr. Drake. Most of them don't change. Most of them don't deserve second chances. She paused. But most of them also don't spend 5 days searching for a homeless child they've never met. Most of them don't hire lawyers and open their homes and show up in my courtroom with half of Texas behind them. Judge Hayes looked at Harper. And most children who've been through what you've been through, young lady, don't run into burning cars to save strangers. That tells me something about who you are, about the character underneath all that pain. She removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes, the weight of 28 years of difficult decisions showing on her face. I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to override standard protocol and grant emergency temporary custody to Maeve Drake, with the stipulation that she complete foster parent training within 90 days. Harper couldn't breathe. Wyatt Drake will be allowed to reside in the home, but will not have legal custody until a full review is completed in 6 months. During this period, regular check-ins with CPS will occur. Any violations, any concerns, and this arrangement is terminated immediately. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor, Rita said. Yes, Your Honor, Maeve whispered. Judge Hayes picked up her gavel. Temporary custody granted. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted. Finn screamed, threw himself at Harper. Maeve wrapped her arms around both of them. Wyatt stood there, trying not to cry and failing completely. Behind them, bikers were cheering, fists in the air, engines revving outside. 70 voices celebrating a victory that shouldn't have needed to be fought for, but was worth fighting anyway. Ghost pushed through the crowd, grabbed Harper by the shoulders, tears streaming down her weathered face. You did it, child. You did it. We did it, Harper corrected. Claire Sutton approached through the chaos. Harper tensed. Old instincts, old fear. But Claire's face was different, softer, almost human. Harper. She stopped in front of her. This girl she tried to take away. This child who'd just proven that the system Claire had dedicated her life to was fundamentally broken. I've been doing this job for 23 years. I've seen hundreds of kids like you. Most of them don't get endings like this. Most of them disappear into the system, and we never hear from them again. Her voice broke, just slightly. I hope I was wrong about this placement. I hope you get everything you deserve. Claire extended her hand. Harper looked at this woman who represented everything that had hurt her, who tried to take her away from the only family she'd ever really had. She shook Claire's hand. Thank you for being honest in there, about my files, about what happened. Claire nodded, couldn't speak, just walked away before the emotion overwhelmed her completely. The Drakes and Harper and 70 bikers walked out of that courthouse into the Texas sun, into a future that was uncertain but possible, into a life where Harper Kane finally had people who would fight for her, who would show up, who would stay. 3 months passed like a dream, like something Harper was afraid to wake from. Every morning she still had that moment, that split second between sleep and consciousness, where she forgot where she was, where her body tensed for concrete beneath her, for cold, for hunger. Then she'd open her eyes and see the ceiling of her room, and remember she was home. School was hard. Austin Middle School, 8th grade. Walking in that first day was like walking into fire all over again. Different kind of danger, different kind of pain. Tyler Williams approached her at lunch. Big kid, thick build, the kind that came from either sports or bullying. Everyone knew what kind Tyler was. So you're the homeless girl. Not a question, a statement, an accusation. The cafeteria went quiet, everyone watching, waiting to see if the new kid would break. Yeah, I was. And now you live with bikers, with criminals. I live with my family. Your family, Tyler laughed. They're not your real family. You're just a stray they picked up. Harper stood slowly, not threatening, just present, just unafraid, because she'd survived worse than Tyler Williams, had faced down things that would break him. You want to know what I learned on the streets? Her voice was calm, almost pleasant. I learned that people who feel good about themselves don't need to make other people feel small. They don't walk up to strangers and try to hurt them. Only broken people do that. Tyler's face reddened. What did you call me? I didn't call you anything. I'm just saying whatever's going on with you that makes you need to do this, it's not about me. It's about you. She stepped closer, not aggressive, just unafraid. You think you're tough because you can bully a girl who's smaller than you. I think I survived 11 months on the streets. I think I ran into a burning car. I think I've been through things you can't imagine. The cafeteria was completely silent now. So yeah, Tyler, I'm tough, but I don't need to prove it by picking on kids in a cafeteria. For a moment, Harper thought he was going to swing. She was ready, had been in enough fights on the streets, knew how to take a punch and how to give one back. Instead, Tyler laughed, hollow and uncomfortable. Whatever, man, you're not worth it. He walked away, fast, and Harper sat back down. Her hands were shaking, but she kept her face neutral. Cool, like nothing could touch her. Dude, a boy named David said. He'd been sitting nearby, quiet, watching. That was insane. That was amazing, a girl named Jasmine corrected. Purple streaks in her hair, fierce eyes. Where did you learn to do that? Do what? Just stay calm like that, like nothing could touch you. Harper thought about Wyatt, about the things he'd taught her over 3 months, about strength that didn't need to be proven, about power that came from control. Someone taught me that the strongest thing you can do is not react, that when you stay calm, you take away their power. That night, she told Wyatt about the confrontation. She expected him to be angry, to want to go to the school, to make threats. Instead, he just listened, nodded. You handled it right. I wanted to hit him. I know. I saw your hands shaking when you came home. How did you? Because I know you, and because when I was your age, I would have knocked his teeth out. Felt good about it for maybe 10 seconds before everything went to hell. Wyatt sat down across from her at the kitchen table. This had become their space, where they talked about things that mattered. The easy thing is to react, to let the anger take over. I spent most of my life doing the easy thing. Got me 15 years in a cell and a lot of regret. So what's the hard thing? The hard thing is what you did. Stand your ground without losing yourself. Speak truth without throwing punches. Walk away knowing you could have destroyed him, but chose not to. Wyatt paused. His eyes were soft, proud. I'm proud of you, kid. Really proud. The words hit Harper like a physical thing. She'd heard them so rarely in her life that each time was like a gift, like something precious and fragile that she had to hold carefully. Thanks, she paused. The word was right there, had been building for weeks. Thanks, Dad. It slipped out. Harper froze. She'd never called Wyatt that before, had always kept the safe distance. The reminder that this might still be temporary, but it wasn't temporary. Not anymore. Wyatt's eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to hide them. Say that again. Dad. Stronger this time. More certain. Thanks, Dad. Wyatt pulled her into a hug, the kind that crushed the air out of you, the kind that said everything words couldn't. That said, you're mine and I'm yours and nothing will ever change that. My daughter, he whispered. My girl. But not everything was easy. The nightmares came. Harper would wake up screaming. In the dreams, she couldn't save Finn. She'd watch him burn, watch the flames consume him while her legs wouldn't move, while she stood frozen like the 50 adults who'd filmed instead of acted. The first time it happened, Maeve was in Harper's room before she'd fully woken up, holding her, not asking questions, just holding her. It's okay. You're safe. It was just a dream. I couldn't save him. In the dream, I couldn't save him. But you did save him. In real life. He's down the hall sleeping because of you. Harper's breathing slowed, but the shaking didn't stop. I keep seeing it, the fire, the explosion. Sometimes I feel like I'm still there. Maeve pulled back, looked at Harper. Really looked at her. Harper, what you went through was traumatic. The fire, the streets, everything before that. It's going to take time to heal, and that's okay. I don't want to be broken. You're not broken. You're wounded. There's a difference. What's the difference? Broken things can't be fixed. Wounds heal, but they need care and patience, and people who don't give up on you. Maeve touched Harper's face, gentle, maternal, the way Harper's mother used to before the drugs made her too sick to care. We're not giving up on you, no matter how many nightmares, no matter how long it takes. Harper wanted to believe her, but the fear was still there. The voice in the back of her head that said, everyone leaves eventually. Everyone gives up. What if I'm too much trouble? You're not. What if I mess up? What if I do something wrong and you? Harper. Maeve's voice was firm, not harsh, just certain. Listen to me. When Finn was 3, he drew on every wall in the house with permanent marker. When he was 5, he broke Wyatt's favorite guitar trying to play it. When he was 7, he lied about eating cookies, and we found crumbs in his bed for a week. She paused, made sure Harper was listening. Did we throw him out? No. Then why would we throw you out? Because I'm not your real kid. The words hung in the air. Harper hadn't meant to say them, but there they were. The truth she'd been carrying. The fear that underneath all the kindness and all the fighting, she was still just a foster kid, still disposable. Maeve's eyes filled with tears. "Harper, look at me." She did. The moment Wyatt saw that video of you saving Finn, something changed in this house. We didn't know who you were, didn't know your name, but we knew we needed to find you. Maeve's voice broke. And when we saw this skinny, scared, brave girl who'd rather die than ask for help, we knew. We knew you were ours, that you'd always been ours. We just had to find you. She pulled Harper close again. "You are my real kid, Harper. Maybe not by blood, but blood doesn't make a family. Showing up does. And you showed up for my son when no one else would. That makes you as real as it gets." Harper cried again. She seemed to cry a lot these days, but Maeve said that was okay. Said it was all the tears she'd been holding back for years finally finding their way out. The 6-month mark approached. February, 6 months since that August day when Harper ran into fire and changed everything. The temporary custody arrangement would be reviewed. A deadline. A moment when the court would decide if the Drakes were suitable or if Harper needed to go back into the system. Claire Sutton visited every 2 weeks, always professional, always thorough. But something had changed in her demeanor. She seemed almost hopeful, like she wanted this to work. Like for once in her 23-year career, she was rooting for the family instead of the system. "Harper's doing well in school," Claire noted during one visit. She was sitting in the Drakes' living room, clipboard on her lap, checking boxes, gathering evidence. "Teachers say she's engaged, focused, no behavioral issues." "She works hard," Maeve said. "We all do." "I can see that." Claire looked at Harper. She was doing homework at the kitchen table. Finn was helping, or trying to help, mostly just being 8 years old and chattering about nothing, while Harper smiled and pretended his suggestions for solving math problems were helpful. "Harper, how are you feeling about things?" Harper looked up, considered the question. The real question underneath. "Are you happy? Are they treating you right? Should we take you away?" "Scared sometimes. Like I'm waiting for something bad to happen. Like this can't be real." "That's normal given your history. But also," Harper paused, "also good. Like maybe this is real. Like maybe I actually get to stay." Claire nodded, made a note. Her face was carefully neutral, but Harper thought she saw something flicker in her eyes. Something almost like relief. "I'll be honest with you both. The 6-month review is coming up next week. There are people in my department who still have concerns about the placement." Maeve tensed. "What kind of concerns?" "The usual. Wyatt's record, the club, the perception that this household is unconventional." Claire sighed. She looked tired, like she'd been fighting this battle for too long and was running out of strength. "I've tried to explain that perception isn't reality, that this placement is working beautifully, but not everyone sees it that way." Harper felt the fear spike, sharp and cold in her chest. "Are they going to take me?" "Not if I have anything to say about it." Claire looked at Harper directly. No clipboard, no professional distance, just one human to another. "Your case has been one of the most successful placements I've seen in years. You're thriving here. Anyone with eyes can see that. I'll do everything I can to make sure the review board sees it too." She stood, gathered her things. "Just keep doing what you're doing, and be ready for the review hearing next week. It might get intense." After she left, Harper stared at her homework. The words blurred. Everything she'd built over 6 months felt suddenly fragile, like it could be taken away with a single ruling. "Hey," Wyatt's voice from the doorway, "stop spiraling." "I'm not." "Yeah, you are. I can see it in your face." He sat down next to her, put his arm around her shoulders. "Whatever happens at that review, we handle it together. Same as always. What if they say you can't live here anymore? What if they say I have to leave? Then we fight, we appeal, we do whatever it takes. What if that's not enough?" Wyatt was quiet for a moment, then he leaned forward, made sure Harper was looking at him. "Harper, let me tell you something about the Hells Angels. We're not perfect. We've made mistakes, done things I'm not proud of, things I wish I could take back." His voice was serious, honest, no sugarcoating. "But one thing we've never done, not once, is abandon our own. You're one of us now. That means every member of this club has your back. Every single one." He squeezed her shoulder. And if the state of Texas thinks they can take you from us without a fight, they've got another thing coming. Harper wanted to believe him. Slowly, carefully, she was learning how. The night before the 6-month review hearing, Harper couldn't sleep. She sat on the back porch at 2 in the morning, watching the stars, trying to prepare herself for losing everything she'd found. Maeve appeared in the doorway, silent, just standing there until Harper noticed her. Couldn't sleep either. Harper shook her head. Maeve sat down beside her. They stayed quiet for a long time. Just two people watching the Texas sky and preparing for whatever came next. When I found out I couldn't have more children, Maeve finally said, I thought I'd failed at the most basic thing, like my body had betrayed me, like I wasn't a real woman anymore. Harper listened. Let Maeve talk. Doctors couldn't explain it, said everything looked normal. Sometimes bodies just don't cooperate. Sometimes life has other plans and we don't get to know why. Maeve's voice was soft, thoughtful, the voice of someone who'd made peace with old pain. I spent years being angry, at my body, at every pregnant woman I saw walking down the street with their swollen bellies and their glow and their certainty that everything was going to be okay. She looked at Harper. Then Finn came along and I thought, okay, this is enough. One perfect son. That's more than some people get. I should be grateful. But you weren't. No, I mean I loved Finn with everything in me. Still do. But there was always this empty chair at our dinner table. This space that was supposed to be filled but wasn't. I tried to ignore it. Tried to convince myself I was being greedy. That one child should be enough. Maeve's voice broke, just slightly. But it wasn't. And I felt guilty about that for years. What changed? You, running into that fire, saving my son, running away because you were so convinced nobody would help you that you'd rather die alone than ask. Tears were streaming down Maeve's face now. I watched that video and I knew. The daughter I'd been waiting for wasn't going to come from my body. She was already out there, scared and alone and convinced she wasn't worth saving. Harper couldn't speak. Her throat had closed completely. Tomorrow they're going to review this placement. They're going to look at every auto, judge every choice. Try to find reasons why we're not good enough for you. Maeve cupped Harper's face in her hands, made her look directly into her eyes. But here's what they don't understand. You're not a placement. You're not a case file. You're my daughter. And no court, no investigator, no system is going to change that. But they can take me away. They can trump, and we'll fight them every day, every appeal, every hearing, for as long as it takes. What if you lose? Then we keep fighting because that's what families do. We don't give up. We don't walk away. We fight. Harper threw herself into Maeve's arms, held on tight. This woman who'd chosen her, who'd fought for her, who'd given her everything. I'm scared, Mom. I know, baby. Me too. But we're in this together. They sat there until the sun came up, until the Texas sky turned gold and pink and purple, until it was time to face whatever came next. The courthouse parking lot was packed. Not 70 bikers this time. Over 100. Word had spread even further. Hell's Angels from chapters across multiple states, all coming to stand witness, to show support, to remind the system that Harper Kane wasn't alone anymore. They lined the courthouse steps, filled the sidewalk, a wall of leather and chrome, an absolute refusal to let the system destroy another child. Harper got out of the truck, saw them all, felt the weight of their presence, their support, their love. Wyatt, she whispered, I didn't know. Family shows up, always. Judge Lenora Hayes looked exactly as Harper remembered. Maybe a little more tired. The weight of 28 years of impossible decisions showing in every line on her face, but her eyes were still sharp, still searching for truth. We're here for the 6-month review of the temporary custody arrangement for Harper Kane. Miss Sutton, your report. Claire stood. She looked different somehow, more certain, like she'd finally figured out which side she was on. Your Honor, I'm pleased to report that this placement has exceeded all expectations. Harper is thriving in school. Her emotional health has improved dramatically. The Drake household has been stable, supportive, and exactly what this child needed. She paused, took a breath. This was it. I'm recommending permanent placement, without reservation. A murmur went through the courtroom. Social workers didn't usually advocate this strongly for unconventional placements, especially not social workers who'd initially opposed them. Thank you, Miss Sutton. Mr. Ashworth from the licensing board has also filed a response. Mr. Ashworth, Theodore Ashworth stood, thin, sharp suit, glasses that made his eyes look cold. Everything about him screamed bureaucrat. Rules over people. Protocol over compassion. Your Honor, while I acknowledge the positive reports, I maintain serious concerns about this placement. Wyatt Drake's continued involvement, the motorcycle club presence, the lack of traditional foster care structure. These are not minor issues. He adjusted his glasses. The state has a responsibility to place children in environments that meet established standards. This household, however well-intentioned, does not meet those standards. I recommend continued temporary status with mandatory quarterly reviews. Rita Callahan stood. Your Honor, Mr. Ashworth's concerns were addressed in the initial hearing. Nothing has changed except that Harper is now thriving. His objection is based on prejudice, not evidence. I'll hear from witnesses, Judge Hayes said. Ms. Callahan, proceed. Rita called Dr. Kate Brennan first, Harper's therapist, the woman who'd been seeing her weekly since September. Dr. Brennan, you have been treating Harper for approximately 5 months. Can you describe her progress? It's been remarkable. When I first met Harper, she presented with severe PTSD attachment disorder and profound trust issues. She was hypervigilant, emotionally guarded, and struggled with even basic vulnerability. Dr. Brennan looked at Harper, smiled warmly. Now she's learning to trust, learning to accept love. She still has occasional nightmares, still experiences anxiety, particularly around the idea of losing her family. But that's normal given her history. The transformation has been extraordinary. In your professional opinion, would removing Harper from this placement be beneficial or harmful? It would be devastating. Dr. Brennan's voice was firm. The bond Harper has formed with the Drake family is the most significant healing factor in her treatment. Disrupting that could cause permanent psychological damage. We're talking potential regression to pre-placement trauma levels or worse. Ashworth stood for cross-examination. Dr. Brennan, you're aware this household includes a motorcycle club president with a felony record. I am, and I'm also aware that Wyatt Drake shows up for every session, implements every strategy I suggest, and loves that girl with a depth most parents only aspire to. But the only risk I see is taking a thriving child from a loving home and putting her back into a system that has already failed her 7 times. Dr. Brennan looked directly at Ashworth. I've worked with hundreds of families. I've seen wealthy, respectable households where children were abused behind closed doors. And I've seen unconventional families where children flourished. The Drakes are the latter. If you remove Harper from them, you'll be committing professional malpractice against a child who's finally healing. Ashworth sat down, his jaw tight. Rita called Harper's teachers next. English, math, science. One by one, they painted the same picture. She tutors younger students now, the English teacher said. Volunteers for everything. The transformation from the girl who started here in September to who she is now, it's night and day. Her math grade went from D to B+, the math teacher added. That kind of improvement requires not just intelligence, but stability, a home environment where she feels safe enough to focus on learning. The school counselor was last. I've worked with at-risk youth for 20 years. Harper Kane is one of the most resilient, compassionate, driven students I've ever encountered. She's mentoring other foster kids now, sharing her story, giving them hope. That doesn't happen in unstable placements. Then Rita did something Harper wasn't expecting. Your Honor, I'd like to call Finn Drake to the stand. Ashworth didn't object this time. He'd learned that lesson 6 months ago. Finn walked to the stand, no crutches now, no cast. His leg had healed perfectly. Just a slight scar on his forehead from the accident. A reminder of the day Harper changed everything. Hi, Finn, Judge Hayes said. She remembered him. How could she forget, hi, Judge Hayes? I'm going to ask you some questions about Harper. Okay. How has it been having Harper as your sister? Finn's face lit up. Pure joy. It's the best. She helps me with homework and plays games with me and reads to me at night. And she's really good at making pancakes now. Better than Dad. Quiet laughter in the courtroom. Do you ever feel unsafe or scared because of Harper? No, Harper keeps me safe. She already saved my life once. She's like a superhero. But what would happen if Harper had to leave? Finn's expression changed instantly, from joy to fear in half a second. She's not leaving. You said she could stay. I know, buddy. I'm just asking. But you said she could stay if we did everything right, and we did everything right. Harper goes to school and therapy, and she helps with dinner, and she's nice to everyone. We did everything right. His voice was rising, getting desperate. You can't take her now. It's not fair. She's my sister. She saved me, and now she's my sister forever. You can't. Tears started falling. Not manipulation, just a little boy's genuine terror at the thought of losing the sister he loved. Judge Hayes' expression softened. Okay, Finn, it's okay. You can step down. Maeve came forward to collect him. He was crying into her shoulder. They can't take her, Mommy. Tell them they can't. Shh, baby, it's okay. It's okay. But Harper saw the tears in Maeve's eyes too. The fear that maybe it wasn't okay. That maybe they could lose this after all. Judge Hayes called a brief recess. 15 minutes. In the hallway, Harper stood by the window, looking out at the 100+ bikers still waiting, still standing watch, still refusing to leave until this was over. Rita approached. That went well. Finn's testimony was powerful. The teachers were perfect. Dr. Brennan destroyed Ashworth's credibility. But judges are unpredictable. Hayes seemed sympathetic 6 months ago. She might be sympathetic now, or she might decide that following protocol is more important than following her gut. Rita put her hand on Harper's shoulder. Whatever happens in there, know this. You have an army behind you. We won't stop fighting, ever. They went back in. The courtroom felt heavier somehow, like the weight of the decision was pressing down on everyone. I've reviewed all testimony, Judge Hayes said. I've read the reports from Dr. Brennan, the school, and CPS. I've listened to Mr. Ashworth's concerns. She paused, removed her glasses, rubbed the bridge of her nose. This case has troubled me for 6 months, not because I doubt the Drake family's commitment or love, not because I think Harper is unsafe, but because approving this placement means acknowledging that our system is so fundamentally broken that a motorcycle club president and his wife can do a better job than trained professionals. She looked at Claire Sutton. Ms. Sutton, you initially opposed this placement. What changed? Claire stood. This was the moment, the chance to speak truth. I met Harper 6 months ago and I saw another case file, another foster kid with problems, another placement that probably wouldn't work. I'd seen it 1,000 times. Her voice wavered, just slightly. Then I watched her with the Drakes, watched her slowly learn to trust, watched her smile and laugh and become a child again instead of a survivor. Watched her call Maeve Mom for the first time and mean it. Claire looked at Harper. Your Honor, I've been doing this job for 23 years. I've placed hundreds of children. Most of them fail. Most of them age out of the system damaged and alone and convinced nobody ever cared about them. Tears were streaming down her face now. She didn't bother wiping them away. Harper Kane isn't going to be one of those statistics. She found a family, a real family, and if we take her away from them because they don't fit our paperwork, we'll be committing the worst kind of institutional cruelty. She sat down. The courtroom was silent. Judge Hayes looked at Harper, really looked at her, saw the girl who'd run into fire, the girl who'd survived 11 months on streets, the girl who'd finally found home. Harper, I'd like to hear from you one final time. Please approach. Harper stood, walked to the front. She wasn't sworn in. This wasn't testimony. This was just conversation. Harper, 6 months ago, you stood in my courtroom and told me you wanted someone to notice if you didn't come home. Has that happened? Yes, Your Honor. Tell me about your life now. Harper took a breath, thought about how to put 6 months into words. I wake up every morning in my room, the one with my mother's picture in a frame that says family, I go downstairs and Maeve makes breakfast, usually pancakes. Finn talks nonstop about nothing important, and Dad reads the paper and pretends he's not listening. A smile tugged at her lips. I go to school. I have friends now, David and Jasmine. We eat lunch together. I help them with English. They help me with math, normal kid stuff. After school, I come home, do homework at the kitchen table while Finn colors next to me. We have dinner together, all four of us, every night, at a table. Her voice got quieter, more vulnerable. Then Dad teaches me about motorcycles, or Mom and I watch movies, or Finn begs me to read him another chapter even though he should be sleeping. And at night, when I have nightmares about the fire or about being on the streets, Mom comes in. She sits with me, holds me, reminds me I'm safe, that I'm loved, that I'm home. Harper's eyes were wet. That's my life now, and it's the most ordinary, boring, perfect life I've ever had. And if you take it away from me because my dad made mistakes before I was born, or because my family wears leather instead of suits, she couldn't finish. Just shook her head. Judge Hayes was quiet for a long time, just looking at this 14-year-old girl who'd been through more than most adults, who'd survived, who'd finally found what every child deserved. Mr. Ashworth, I've listened to your concerns. I understand your position. You're trying to follow protocol, to maintain standards, to protect children. She picked up her gavel. But sometimes protecting children means ignoring the protocol that fails them. Sometimes it means acknowledging that love matters more than paperwork. And sometimes it means having the courage to say the system is wrong. Ashworth started to speak. Judge Hayes cut him off. I'm converting the temporary custody to permanent placement, effective immediately. Harper Kane will remain with Wyatt and Maeve Drake with full parental rights for both parents. The gavel started to come down. Furthermore, I'm ordering all records sealed. Harper's time in the foster system is over. She's a Drake now. That's the end of it. The gavel hit. This court is adjourned. The courtroom exploded. Maeve was sobbing. Wyatt pulled Harper into his arms, lifted her off the ground. Finn crashed into both of them, the four of them holding each other while 100 bikers cheered. Ghost pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her weathered face. Welcome home, child. All the way home. Rusty was grinning. That's my niece, official now. Carmen was crying. Half the bikers in the room had tears streaming down their faces. Claire Sutton approached one last time. Harper. Harper turned. This woman who'd tried to take her away. This woman who'd learned to see her as a person instead of a file. Thank you, Claire said simply. Thank you for teaching me that I was doing my job wrong for 23 years. Thank you for reminding me why I started doing this in the first place. She pulled Harper into a hug, quick, fierce, then walked away before she completely broke down. They walked out of that courthouse into February sunshine, into a future that was finally certain, into a life where Harper Kane was Harper Drake, permanently, legally, forever. 10 months passed in a blur of ordinary life. School, homework, family dinners, motorcycle rides. Harper's 15th birthday in June came with a party that filled the backyard, her first real birthday party ever. Finn made her a card that said, "Best sister in the world." It wasn't even her birthday when she started crying. It was Tuesday. Maeve had made her favorite dinner and she just cried because she could. August rolled around, 1 year since the fire, 1 year since Harper ran into flames and saved Finn. Changed everything. The Drakes held a gathering. Not a party, something quieter, more meaningful. Just close family and the people who'd been there from the beginning. Ghost was there, moving even slower now, but still showing up, still present. Rusty and Carmen from Dallas. Rita Callahan, who'd become family. Even Claire Sutton came, bringing flowers and a smile. Finn had organized everything, set up chairs in the backyard, made sure there was food, taking his role as little brother seriously. Wyatt stood at the center of the gathering, clinked a bottle to get attention. 1 year ago today, my son was trapped in a burning car, and a homeless girl nobody else cared about ran into that fire and saved his life. He looked at Harper, his daughter, his pride evident in every word. That girl is sitting right here. My daughter. my family. And looking at how far we've all come, I realized something. His voice thickened. We didn't save Harper. She saved us, gave me purpose, gave Maeve the daughter she'd been waiting for, gave Finn a sister who'd die for him, made us better. All of us. Ghost raised her glass. To Harper Drake. To Harper, everyone echoed. Harper felt every eye on her. The love, the acceptance, the belonging that still felt new even after a year. She stood, took a breath. I'm not good at speeches. Still learning how to talk about feelings without wanting to run away. Quiet laughter. But I know this. 1 year ago, I was nobody. I had nothing. I expected nothing. She looked at Finn. Then I heard a little boy screaming, and something in me said, run. Help him. Save him. Her voice broke. She pushed through. I didn't know he'd become my brother. Didn't know his family would become mine. Didn't know one decision would change everything. She looked at Maeve, at Wyatt, at Ghost and Rusty, and everyone who'd shown up. My mom used to say, help people even when nobody helps you. She said that's what makes us human. Harper raised her glass. I gave everything when I ran into that fire, and I got everything back 1,000 times over. So this isn't to me. It's to everyone who believed in a homeless kid when they had no reason to, who taught me family isn't blood, it's showing up. Her eyes swept the crowd. Thank you for giving me a life worth living. Silence. Then Maeve was hugging her. Then Finn. Then Wyatt. Then everyone. A parade of leather and love and belonging. 4 months later, December arrived, and with it, one more piece of the puzzle. Rita called on a Tuesday morning in early December. Harper was getting ready for school. Is Maeve there? Rita's voice was strange, excited but trying to contain it. Maeve took the phone, listened, her face transformed, from calm to shock to joy in seconds. When she listened more, started crying. Yes, of course, we'll be there. Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. She hung up, looked at Harper and Wyatt and Finn, who'd all stopped what they were doing. Judge Hayes put through the adoption paperwork. She expedited everything. We have a court date. Harper's heart stopped. Adoption. But I thought, the permanent placement made you ours legally, but adoption makes you ours in every possible way. New birth certificate, new everything, you become a Drake completely. Maeve's voice broke. December 23rd, Judge Hayes wants to finalize it before Christmas. Wyatt pulled Harper into a hug, then Maeve. Then Finn crashed into all of them. You're going to be my real sister, like really, really real. I'm already your real sister, Finn. Yeah, but now it's like super official. Forever, forever. Harper looked at Maeve, at this woman who'd chosen her, fought for her, loved her. Mom, yeah, baby, I'm scared. Of what? That I'll wake up and this will all be a dream. Maeve cupped her face. This is real, the most real thing in the world. And in 2 weeks, we're making it permanent in every way possible. December 23rd arrived cold and bright. Austin rarely saw frost, but winter had come early this year. Harper could see her breath in the air as they walked into the courthouse. The same courthouse where she'd fought to stay, where Finn had cried, where Judge Hayes had given her temporary custody that became permanent, where everything had changed. Now they were back to make it complete. The courtroom was decorated for Christmas. Small tree in the corner, garland on the windows. Judge Hayes was wearing earrings shaped like snowflakes. 100 bikers filled the gallery. Ghost, Rusty, Carmen. Chapter presidents from across Texas and beyond. All there to witness this final step. Claire Sutton sat in the front row. She'd asked permission to attend, not as CPS, just as someone who wanted to see a happy ending. Judge Hayes called the proceeding to order. We're here for the adoption of Harper Kane by Wyatt and Maeve Drake. She looked at Harper, smiled, a real smile that transformed her usually stern face. Harper, I've seen you in my courtroom multiple times now. I've watched you go from a terrified child to a thriving young woman. I've watched this family fight for you with everything they had. Judge Hayes picked up the adoption decree. Do you understand what this means? Once I sign these papers, you become their daughter in every legal sense. New birth certificate, new identity, forever. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. Is this what you want? Harper looked at Maeve, at Wyatt, at Finn bouncing in his seat trying to contain excitement. It's everything I've ever wanted. Judge Hayes signed the first paper, then the second, then the third. Each signature felt sacred, permanent, real. By the power vested in me by the state of Texas, I hereby declare that Harper Kane is from this day forward the legal adopted daughter of Wyatt and Maeve Drake. She picked up her gavel. Your legal name is now Harper Kane Drake. Welcome home, Harper. All the way home. The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted. Finn screamed, launched himself at Harper, nearly knocked her over. Maeve was sobbing. Wyatt was crying. Even Ghost was wiping tears. 100 bikers on their feet, chanting, Harper, Harper, Harper. The sound shook the windows, made the Christmas tree ornaments rattle. Harper stood in the middle of it all. Harper Kane Drake, daughter, sister, angel, home, forever. 2 days later was Christmas morning. Finn woke Harper at 6, same as last year, jumping on her bed, screaming about Santa. Come on! We have presents. Finn, it's 6 in the morning. But it's Christmas! Harper groaned, pulled a pillow over her head. Finn yanked it away. Dad said we can't open anything until you're up, so get up! They went downstairs together. Maeve had made hot chocolate. Wyatt was wearing the same ridiculous Santa hat from last year. The tree was lit, presents everywhere. It looked like home. They opened gifts. Finn got a new gaming system. Immediately wanted to set it up. Maeve said after breakfast, Wyatt got tools, Maeve got jewelry, Harper got books, art supplies, clothes. Then Wyatt handed her one more box, bigger than last year's jacket. This one's special. Harper opened it. Inside was a leather jacket, full size now, real Hell's Angels patches, not modified, not Little Hero, the real thing. It's official, Wyatt said. You're old enough, and the club voted, unanimous. You're one of us, if you want it. Harper stared at the jacket, at the patches, at the invitation to belong to something bigger. I'm 15, and you've lived more life than most 30-year-olds. Done more, survived more, earned more. Wyatt's voice was serious. This isn't pressure. You can say no, but if you want it, the club says you've earned it. Harper picked up the jacket, put it on. It fit perfectly. Felt right. Thank you, Dad. My daughter, the biker. Wyatt pulled her into a hug. Your mother would be proud. That afternoon, 50 motorcycles showed up. Same Christmas tradition. The club rode through Austin, brought toys to hospitals, food to shelters, spreading good where they could. Harper rode on the back of Wyatt's Harley, her jacket warm against December cold. Wind in her hair, father solid in front of her, family all around. At the hospital, a little girl approached her, maybe 10, bald from chemo, big eyes. Are you really a Hell's Angel? Yeah, I really am. That's so cool. You know what's cooler being brave like you? Fighting whatever you're fighting. That's the coolest thing ever. The girl smiled, her first real smile in weeks, according to her parents. At the shelter, Harper recognized an old woman. Someone she'd shared a dumpster with once, lifetimes ago. Harper, is that you? Yeah, it's me. The woman's eyes filled with tears. I heard what happened. All of it. I'm so happy for you, baby. You deserve every bit of happiness. So do you. Maybe, but not everyone gets it. You did. Don't you ever take it for granted. I won't. I promise. They rode home as the sun set. Texas sky, gold and red and purple. Harper held on to Wyatt, the cold biting her face, the jacket keeping her warm, her family surrounding her. This was her life. This was who she was. Harper Kane Drake, 15 years old, daughter, sister, Hell's Angel, home. That night after Christmas dinner and presents and Finn finally crashing from sugar overload, Harper sat at her desk. The picture of her mother was still there, in the frame that said family. Beside it now was a photo from the adoption ceremony. Harper and Finn and Wyatt and Maeve, all smiling, all together. Harper picked up a pen, found paper, and wrote, Dear Mom, I know you can't read this, maybe you can't hear me, but I need to say it anyway. I'm okay, better than okay. I'm happy. I have a family, a real one. A dad who teaches me about life and motorcycles. A mom who never gives up on me. A brother who loves me so much it's sometimes annoying. I made it, Mom. I survived. And I didn't just survive. I found everything you wanted for me. I still miss you. I'll always miss you. But I'm not alone anymore. I know now that helping people matters, that kindness matters, that running toward fire instead of away is what makes us human. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for loving me even when everything was falling apart. I'm making you proud. Every day. I promise. Your daughter, Harper Kane Drake. She folded the letter, placed it beside her mother's photograph, then turned off the light and went to bed. In her dreams, her mother was smiling, and beside her, holding her hand, was the family she'd always wanted Harper to have. Harper Kane Drake slept peacefully. She had run into fire as a homeless girl with nothing. She had emerged as a daughter with everything. That transformation, that impossible, miraculous earned transformation, was proof of the only thing that truly mattered. Love, when given freely, could save anyone. Even a throwaway kid nobody else wanted. Even a girl who'd stopped believing in second chances. Especially her. The Texas sky stretched endless above the Drake house. Inside, a family slept. Father, mother, son, daughter. Bound not by blood, but by something stronger. Choice, courage, fire. And in the morning, they'd wake up together, eat breakfast at a table, make plans for the day. Live the ordinary, beautiful life that Harper had stopped believing was possible. Because she'd run toward flames when everyone else stood still. Because she'd kept her mother's promise, even when the world gave her nothing. Because she'd decided in one moment of pure instinct that a little boy's life mattered more than her own fear. And that decision had saved them both. Harper Kane Drake, 14 when she ran into fire, 15 now, with a lifetime ahead, with a family that would never let her fall, with scars on her hands that would always remind her of the day everything changed. She was home, finally, forever, and nobody could ever take that away.